They looked like rentals, drove like rebels, and flew so far under the radar that most people didn't even know what passed them. The 2000s were packed with iconic sports cars and overhyped performance machines, but tucked quietly in the shadows were a handful of unassuming beasts. These were the sleepers, cars that wore business casual on the outside but partied like maniacs under the hood. From souped-up wagons to V8-powered sedans no one asked for, here are 8 unknown sleeper cars from the 2000s that didn't just break the mold, they laughed as they blew by it. Number 8, Infiniti M45. The early 2000s M45 is one of those cars that doesn't try hard to get your attention, and that's exactly what makes it such a brilliant sleeper. On the outside, it looks like your average luxury sedan from the era. Squared-off edges, chrome touches, and a calm business-like presence. Pop the hood and the story gets a lot more interesting. Infiniti dropped in a 4.5-liter V8 from the Q45, the VK45DE, producing 340 horsepower and 333 pound-feet of torque. For a mid-sized sedan that weighs just under 4,000 pounds, that was serious muscle. Paired with a 5-speed automatic transmission, it could hustle from 0 to 60 miles per hour in the low 6-second range. Not bad at all for a car that looks like it belongs in a retirement home parking lot. Inside, the cabin reflects its premium intentions. Soft leather, real wood trim, and plenty of tech for the time, including a then impressive navigation system and a premium Bose sound setup. But none of that distracts from what the car's really about, quietly laying waste to unsuspecting traffic with zero flash or fuss. Number 7, Mercury Marauder. The Mercury Marauder is a car that answers a question most people didn't think to ask. What if a police interceptor had a bit of an attitude? It looks like a slightly more sinister Crown Victoria, which is no accident because it's built on the same Panther platform, but the Marauder takes that stoic, no-nonsense base and injects just enough muscle to turn it into a stealthy bruiser. Under the hood, you'll find a 4.6-liter DOHC V8, the same basic engine used in the Mustang Mach 1 of the era, putting out 302 horsepower and 318 pound-feet of torque. It's made it to a 4-speed automatic, which might seem dated now, but it was the norm back then. Still, it gets the job done, launching the Marauder from 0 to 60 in around 7.5 seconds. Driving one feels like rolling deep in a government-issued hot rod. It has the road presence of a highway patrol cruiser and the attitude of something that could hold its own in a stoplight scuffle. And because it's a Mercury, not a Ford or a Chevy, it stays off most people's radar, the very definition of a sleeper. Number 6, Mazda Speed 6. If you didn't know what to look for, the Mazda Speed 6 might slip by completely unnoticed. It looks like a regular Mazda 6 with a slightly more aggressive stance. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, but beneath that clean-cut exterior lies a surprising capable machine that punches way above its weight. Mazda took their midsize sedan and gave it the full performance treatment. The centerpiece is a turbocharged 2.3-liter direct injection inline-4, pushing out 274 horsepower and a hefty 280 pound-feet of torque. That may not sound like huge numbers today, but back then, and especially for a 4-cylinder, it was serious business. And unlike the front-wheel drive standard Mazda 6, the Speed 6 gets an all-wheel drive system with active torque split and a 6-speed manual transmission. That combo gives it sharp handling and all-weather grip, and it rockets from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds. Inside, Mazda didn't go overboard with design. The interior is subtle and driver-focused. It's mature, refined, and yet entirely capable of embarrassing cars that cost much more. Number 5, Volvo V70R. A station wagon with nearly 300 horsepower and all-wheel drive? That's not the kind of sentence most people expect to hear, especially not from Volvo. But that's exactly what the V70R delivered, and it did it with style, comfort, and a healthy dose of surprise. Under the hood sits a 2.5-liter turbocharged inline-5 engine making 296 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. That power goes to all 4 wheels through Volvo's Haldex-based all-wheel drive system. And depending on the transmission and model year, the V70R could hit 60 miles per hour in as little as 5.6 seconds. Quick by any standard, and lightning fast for a wagon. Volvo never marketed it heavily, and the badge didn't have the same recognition as AMG or M at the time, but for those in the know, the V70R is a unicorn. Rare, fast, practical, and wonderfully weird. A true sleeper in every sense of the word. Number 4, Saab 9-2X Aero. The Saab 9-2X Aero is one of the strangest bad swaps of the 2000s, a quirky Swedish wrapper on top of a tried-and-true Japanese performance platform. If you look closely, it's basically a Subaru WRX wagon in disguise. But this wasn't just a lazy rebrand. Saab actually made some thoughtful changes that turned the 9-2X into something a little more refined and a lot more stealthy. Under the hood, the Aero variant came with Subaru's 2-liter turbocharged flat-4 engine producing 227 horsepower, the same motor found in the early 2000s WRX. It was good for 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds, and the standard Subaru all-wheel drive system meant it could handle snow, rain, or twisty back roads with equal ease. But where the WRX felt raw and rally-inspired, the 9-2X took a more polished approach. Saab retuned the suspension for a smoother ride, added better sound insulation, and refined the interior with softer materials and sleeker styling. It also looked a little more grown up thanks to its redesigned front end. No big hood scoop, no oversized wing, just clean, mature lines. Number 3, Pontiac Bonneville GXP. The Bonneville GXP feels like the kind of car that GM built just to prove they could still surprise people. By the early 2000s, the Bonneville nameplate had become more associated with retirees than racing stripes. But in 2004, Pontiac gave it a dose of adrenaline. Instead of the usual V6, the GXP came loaded with a 4.6-liter North Star V8 pulled straight from Cadillac's parts bin. That meant 275 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque going to the front wheels. Not the most ideal setup, but still enough to move the big sedan from 0 to 60 in the 6-second range. It didn't just rely on straight-line speed, though. The GXP also featured upgraded suspension, stiffer bushings, 18-inch wheels, and performance-tuned steering. It wasn't exactly nimble, but it handled with a surprising level of composure for a full-size front driver. And the sound? That burly, naturally aspirated V8 growl gave the GXP a kind of muscle car soul trapped inside a family-friendly frame. It wasn't a huge hit at the time, and production only lasted a couple of years, but today, the Bonneville GXP stands out as one of those rare moments where a sleepy full-size sedan got a real performance heart. Quietly bold, unmistakably American. Number 2, Chevrolet Malibu Maxx SS. Here's the one that almost no one saw coming, mostly because no one really knew what it was. The Malibu Maxx SS is the weird cousin in Chevy's early 2000s lineup, a hatchback version of the Malibu with a stretched wheelbase, odd proportions, and a whole lot of hidden potential. Underneath its awkward body was a 3.9-liter V6 making 240 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque. It wasn't mind-blowing power, but it was more than enough to surprise the average commuter when the light turned green. The Maxx SS came with a sport-tuned suspension, quicker steering, larger brakes, and 18-inch wheels, making it way more athletic than anyone expected from something wearing a Malibu badge. But what really made it interesting was the practicality. The Maxx had a sliding rear bench, tons of cargo room thanks to the hatch, and even a rear seat DVD entertainment system. It was like a strange blend of sports sedan and family hauler, and somehow it worked. Number 1, Mazda Speed 3. If there's one car on the list that truly defined what a sleeper could be in the late 2000s, it's the first-gen Mazda Speed 3. Mazda took their mild-mannered compact hatchback, stuffed it full of turbocharged fury, and created one of the most underrated hot hatches of its time. Under the hood was a 2.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, making 263 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. A lot of power for a front-wheel drive car, especially in a small package. It rocketed to 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds, putting it right up there with performance icons of the era. Inside, it was all business. Sports seats, a short-throw shifter, and red light gauges. It felt raw, connected, and eager to be pushed. Mazda even added stiffer suspension and bigger brakes to handle all that extra power, making it surprisingly competent in the corners. The Mazda Speed 3 never really got the hype it deserved, but those who drove one knew that it was a rocket in disguise. If you want to see more entertaining car videos like this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell.